Bing bing. It says we're live. I think we're live. It is, rumor has it, a Thursday. It's a Thursday. It is the Martin Fowler Scrum. We have Michael, we have Lokesh, we have Sam. Let's start with me. So I have just been reviewing some pull requests for local support, website 1, which reminds me I should be looking at the community management support one as well. What else do we have going on? No, actually, Michael, you didn't have any pull requests in there, I guess. You were just, Michael, you on community maintenance support, the new coding stuff is just being pushed into a branch?
What are you saying?
I said on community maintenance support. So I remember you linked to some new code.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, oh, I'll go and look at pull requests for that. But I saw them. I'm sorry?
It's just on the ranking 2 branch.
Okay.
So
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pull requests much appreciated, as it makes it so easy to see the before and after thing. Okay. Also, I've been working on the marketing report for the NHS wiki, going through and looking at statistics on who's been using the wiki and looking at the moderation process and so on. Yeah, reasonable progress there. We've got the marketing meeting in about an hour, where we'll review that amongst other things. Meeting the NHS wiki people tomorrow morning. Other things going on today. I'm posting these now regular events things into the general channel. After the marketing meeting, we'll have another Scrum later on, and then the local support retro kickoff. After that, I guess it does seem sort of ridiculous to have these little Scrums and then the following ones. I don't know. We need to work out maybe some better. So do we? You know, there's this multiple thing where the Scrum is both designed as a coordination thing, but also as a place that people can drop into, but not many people drop into. Anyway, I guess that's all for discussions for next week's design sprint about where it's all going on. And that's my report. Lokesh, how are things going with you?
Sam, so I was looking for some issues which I can work on, and like you suggested, I took another refactoring issue to solve the code climate issues. And I saw 2 of them. One was like it was suggesting that Robocop was suggesting that you should use guard clause. And another was that you should use double and sign instead of AND. So these were the 2 I'm hoping to complete. I have actually submitted pull request for the using the double ampersand sign instead of and
cool.
But I had some problem regarding the other issue, which was like you should use guard clause.
Okay.
So.
And you were confused.
So the problem
about what
was
that
that
meant.
No, I searched about it and I got to know what it meant. But when I was running Robocop in my C9 console, it wasn't giving me that offense, but code climate was giving.
Yeah, that's also the configuration between the 2 of them might be different. Yeah, so we can look at that. Yeah, I've commented on your the ampersand one with some notes there on that one. I think the one from the previous day where we're just fixing the page class, that can be merged in now. Yeah. So I'll get that merged in. Didn't have any other comments on that. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can have a little chat about those other things at the end of the Scrum. Any other things that you're doing or thoughts or anything else blocking you?
Yeah, I was looking at another issue which was created. Like there were 2 methods in 2 different controllers, and they were very similar.
Okay. In this is also in local support. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No. Well, and in fact, that's as long as that's you're comfortable that there's always going to be more code climate stuff to look at. Yeah, great. It's great that you're getting that. I think the more pull requests that you do, and the more different bits of the code that you look at, the more you'll be learning. It's fantastic. Great. All right. Thanks, Logesh. We'll maybe talk some more at the end of the Scrum. Michael, how are things with you?
Good. How are you? So I did that update with community maintenance support where basically I set out to. So we had the statistical measures that we had before, but those are just kind of like intended to reflect the goals of inferential statistics, where you're trying to say like how much information does this or that variable carry, right?
Right.
And that's kind of like for parsimony or whatever, and simplicity of models, but actually what we kind of care about more is prediction, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the ability to. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question about what I think we care about most is being able to influence, and then there's a question is does being able to predict when somebody might be likely to upgrade, does that carry over into that we should be intervening and influencing them
and trying to give a treatment.
Right. I mean, it's I guess if we're sort of stepping back and trying to look at what is it that we really care about, I guess there's prediction seems good, and I guess the goal ultimately is to work out the causal relations, right? If we can see that certain sorts of interventions lead to an increased chance of somebody upgrading, then we can know that one intervention is more appropriate than another.
So causal intervention, like causal things in like social science, are very shall we say weak.
Right, they require A/B testing, but we could get that data.
Right. So but I guess the first step normally is trying to predict things.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of, the prediction is sort of, well, I mean, it's sort of like, if we can see a correlation, then of course that's no indication of causality, but that's an indication that there may be a causal relation. So we can look through for the correlations. I mean, in some ways there, that's an interesting question there about is predictive power anything more than just a form of correlation?
Yeah. I understand that. So I guess.
Yeah, we would certainly having a model of how the things are co-varying is potentially powerful in terms of working out the kind of experiments one would further do to look for interventions.
I mean, all you're doing with A/B testing is trying to run just the ideal social experiment.
Right.
So anyway, like I set up the predictions. Like I tried to basically I use these measures called precision recall for predictions. Binary predictors, which you're probably familiar with.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that from the text analysis thing and searching. So yeah, the precision recall of search results.
Basically, precision is like how many of the things that I predict to be like positives actually turn out to be positives.
Right. Yeah.
So how precise are my predictions of being true?
Yeah.
And recall is like of all the ones that actually turn out to be positive, how many do I actually foresee in my prediction? So running it with running it with just without even like a proper training test and validate split.
Right.
So in other words, I was tuning the parameters
Mm-hmm.
and then just running it like on the whole data set and then evaluating on the whole data set. So in other words, it's completely the precision and recall are trash.
Right, but yes, and you wrote all of that in the data mining channel, and I read it all, and yes, but I think it's
that link that I posted is the commit link, so you can see the diff.
Right.
It's not a lot of code, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've navigated to it and I see the tests that you have, but yeah, no, my concern is that we hacked together some code that generated a set of data, and now you're running analyses on it that tell us the data. But like, I would say that my confidence that the data is even being generated correctly is not high.
Okay.
So I would be working. I mean, I think you're absolutely right that there needs to be pulling in of you're very, very likely right that there needs to be pulling in of the PayPal data and matching up of emails and so on to get more hits. But I think what I was saying the other day was, what we need to do is, rather than looking at the data set of every single user, which includes lots and lots and lots and lots of very inactive users, in fact, like
right.
2,000 of them, we need to isolate down to look at, the 200 or so users that actually have activity, of them which a quarter will have had upgrade events.
So I'm just kind of like skeptical about how many tests to put in place.
About how many tests to put in place?
Yeah, for the data integrity,
Sure.
Because like we're in a state where we're prototyping.
Right.
And like from what I understand, like in like knowing people that are data scientists, like that's kind of the role that we're taking on. Like they're just a prototype. They're not like a machine learning engineer or whatever. Like they don't even know what tests are.
No, indeed. Which I think is why often their data is complete junk.
So what I'm saying is that I think that pushing us towards tests at this stage is kind of against the preponderance of what's going on in the industry.
Maybe so. I think you're maybe misinterpreting. I don't think we need lots of little unit tests. I think what we need are a couple of sanity checks end to end that we get for a smaller data set, that we get the appropriate thing out.
Okay.
But anyway, let's maybe take that discussion separately.
Okay.
Thanks for the update. Is anything other than that kind of existential challenge blocking you at the moment?
No.
Okay. So I guess other thing to mention, we also had the async voter meeting yesterday, and we've now got all of the pull requests merged in and those things deployed, and I guess the project is looking a bit more healthy in terms of moving forward. That's our Scrum. So the Scrum's finished. Lokesh, so you were saying on the guard clause thing, there was something blocking. You understand what the guard clause is, but remind me, what was the thing that was blocking you?
The output of the Rubocop in the C9 is different from that of Clone.
Right. So you're running Rubocop on the command line. Yeah. And so the issue there is that Rubocop has a configuration file that defines which rules will run, and Code Climate is using Rubocop with a particular set of rules that, ideally we would have complete control over. I thought we had a Rubocop. Do we have a Code Climate YAML file? Yeah, and we have a Rubocop YAML file that one would hope. But this is a problem that I've had with Code Climate in the past, is that oh no, that was a different one. I don't know. There's some sort of mismatch there. So I'll show my screen, which hopefully you'll be able to see. But so here in the that's all. Actually, this is website 1. Let me go to local support. Um, so yeah, we've got code climate YAML there, and there's Rubicop YAML there. So ideally, what would be happening is that code climate would be using our configuration, and so that when you ran the Rubicop directly, it would work the same as code climate. I think that problems that I've had in the past include that systems like code climate or Hounds, they kind of have a default configuration and they merge it with one's own configuration. So that can be challenging. I would say, in the short term, it might be frustrating that there's that there's a difference there. But feel free to just open pull requests and and see if you get a different one. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that we probably want to investigate. If you look at the comments that I was making in your pull requests here, one of the things is actually this, maybe we actually want the and or not symbols rather than the ampersand. There's a blog post there that you might want to read. But so part of what we need to do in response to issues from code climate is, rather than just always fix them and doing what code climate tells us, is sometimes we need to sort of think about, do we need to turn that metric off? Does it make sense for us to be using that particular rule? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess, does that unblock you? Can you move forward with the information that I've given you?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that you can check is, if you're running Rubicop on the command line, check that it's picking up this. It should automatically pick up this file, and so this is a file that you can potentially edit. So it may be that we need to add some rules to this file, or change the way that code climate pulls that file in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So hopefully, we can carry on independently in the Slack and the GitHub to sort that out. So,
yeah.
Michael, I guess for you,
so
go on.
I just had a comment about the causality thing.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I said I know someone who's kind of like in a Fortune 500, and they're trying to predict future sales. And there's like multiple purposes to that. And like to try and predict, to give like executives like some forecast for so many days out. Which maybe isn't that compelling of an actual use, right?
I think it depends on the, for example, in a certain company, if they can accurately predict what the sales will be, then they'll know how much money they have to spend on other things, and then it can be very, very valuable. Yes.
But so like, but if they were to try and determine like there's other things where they were trying to say they were trying to determine that which particular sales would work,
right,
would fall through, with the idea that we'll just fund them, the ones that were going to work. Is that like them trying to turn trying to use causality?
Well, I think that
or is that like fatalist? Is that like a confirmation bias?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about the Fortune 500 company there. I mean, I think often in those contexts, they play very fast and loose, or there's not necessarily a concept of causality and correlation and the difference. I think human beings in general, see things co-occurring, and they tend to assume causality until some, explicit event indicates otherwise. I think, that there are lots of companies though, like, I mean, the example of a kind of testing thing is that, like, I mean, Amanda had it in the course with, Amazon or Google injecting additional delay into their system, like in an A/B test fashion, and seeing that, sales drop by 30% if it takes an extra 2 seconds for the thing to. So there's kind of, I mean, you could say that that's just correlation, but when it's a control, when the experiment's done like that, and you're randomly assigning people to the things, as you know, that's a very strong indicator of causality, and it sort of, it builds the argument for saying, right, well, someone else is waving their hand and saying, oh, that extra 2 seconds doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I understand that, but like, I guess, like, properly doing A/B testing is kind of expensive, right?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on. I mean, it clearly in that case, that was a problem. But I mean, Google AdWords and the analytics and with sites, and it's not in principle expensive to do A/B testing. You can be showing. I mean, I think that there are certain caveats in that you need a certain throughput of people, and depending upon the kind of thing that you are A/B testing, like if you're going to send out extraordinarily different signals to 2 subsections of your community, and then those subsections of the community are going to be interacting, and then that's going to be confusing them. But like, it can be just changing the wording on the way that something is presented, right, and seeing which goes down better and which generates more leads, and then doing that and switching. It can be very simple and straightforward in principle.
Right. So, like, for instance, we could have for the Google AdWords, we could run a campaign where, like, we have 2 ads, right?
Right. And Lara already ran some A/B tests on some of our campaigns.
And what did it show?
It showed her that there was a, I think she switched to the ad that attracted more click-throughs.
Oh, well, that's about the ad, but I'm talking about like on our site.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
right.
If we were to, click through and it had like a code.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
they were coming from, and
absolutely, yeah. I mean, A/B testing is not restricted to the ads. Absolutely, on the site, like, yeah, it would basically, associate with the cookie, and for example, the way in which the premium page was laid out or presented could be, we could show half the users who are landing on that page it one way, and half the users another way, and then see how many people actually went on to make the sale. But it's somewhat premature because we don't have the numbers, right, of people landing on this page.
I guess you can't have you can't have 2 identical ads.
I think
kind of what I would.
Oh, right. You're saying from AdWords, like, in order to have but you don't need to have 2 identical. You can have a single ad on AdWords. That's one thing, and then the A/B testing takes place on your site itself.
Right, but how do you know that they're coming from? I guess you have a code that's saying that they're coming.
Yeah. How does? Yeah. I mean, the whole thing's being. But I mean, in principle, if you're doing A/B testing on the site, you don't necessarily care where they're coming from. What you care is, for the group that was shown one version of the site and the group was shown others, did they go on and did they complete a purchase, for example, or whatever event it is that they do subsequently?
Right. I mean, in some ways you do kind of care because they're coming to the site with a certain expectation, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it's that could be important. I mean, that's the difference between that's the difference between pure random assignment to groups and stratified, random, right, from statistics and experimental science, where if you can just assign people completely randomly, right, and that has that's your. If you're not doing that, you are arguably not able to infer any kind of causality. So there has to be random assignment, but because of the other variation, right?
Yeah.
You can end up with low statistical power as a result. So if you do stratified random sampling, so that, for example, that you ensure that other factors such as gender, age, which advert they saw on the way in or whatever, is equally distributed over the two groups or multiple groups,
Right.
then you can reduce the variance due to other factors and increase the visibility, the signal to noise ratio from the thing that you are varying and holding the thing that you're trying to hold everything else constant against the thing that you vary between the two groups.
Right. It seems like to really do a pure causality, you would need help from Google.
I don't think that follows, but yeah, maybe that's something that we can take up on another occasion, perhaps possibly in the context of if we're designing experiments in the design sprint next week. Okay, well, I'm going to have a break now and have some tea and get ready for the marketing meeting. Yeah, what I would just address your issue about, I would certainly say, Michael, don't write lots of unit tests testing every little individual bit of the code. My concern is just that, we hack that bit of code together. It's got some stuff coming in and stuff coming out that we think is in the right order, but it might be completely junk. And just so it's sanity checks that the way the data is being transformed is that it is being transformed in the way that we think it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I could write, essentially a fake minimalistic
data set and pass it in and check that it comes out in the right form.
It's really like a fixture.
Right.
And then just inject it into the test.
Mm-hmm.
See that it's gonna, it's gonna do whatever.
Right. And that would reassure us that we didn't have some kind of like silly no-brain thing going wrong in the code.
Right.
I mean, the other thing is, I mean, you say there before about like the industry is going and they don't know anything about tests and so on. That's great. Just because everybody else is doing that, we should follow them. I mean, I guess what I would love to bring more people involved in the community maintenance support projects. And I think in order to do that, we could, ideally we kind of get the code organized and not have just different things randomly spread over different branches and try and get in some sort of, coherency within how the project is laid out.
Uh-huh.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're still kind of in a prototyping stage, though.
Sure. But even in a prototyping stage, if you want it's all about whether we want other people to get involved and help collaborate. So if they can't find the things to run, and even for example, like you're doing things, from coming back to it, like, oh, where do I go to run this? Oh, it happens to be in that one branch, and that branch is called ranking 2, but it's doing this different thing now. You know what I mean? It's like having that. I think even when you're prototyping, if you can ensure some sort of consistency of naming, then that means that it's not just for the benefit of other people, it's benefit for us looking at it in a week or two after a break and being able to find the things that we need.
Okay, I understand that, but like it's still everything's on ranking 2 right now, so
right.
I mean, we could just change the name of the ranking to.
So yeah, there's changing the name of the branches. There's, like we said, setting it up so that the different things that we need to run can be called by from command line things, merging that into master, doing pull requests. Anyway, I'll leave you to consider. As I say, I'm going to get my tea now, and I'll maybe see some of you in the marketing meeting. All right, bye for now.
Aren't we running a? Oh,
go on.
Okay, so the mob is on Friday now.
Yes, I see. I mean, my ineptly orchestrated change of 2 weeks ago, I assume, is now in place, but we will see.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye for now.